Many of the defences that remain along the south coast were developed originally during the Napoleonic Wars. The Martello Towers, various fortifications at Hythe, lookout stations on the hills overlooking the marsh at Lymm and Hythe. Many of the Martello Towers are still in situ, the vast majority of which are now in private ownership and have been converted into houses and residences. The most extreme cases, the top gun turrets were reinforced and turned into swimming pools, and or viewing decks looking out across the channel towards France. The Martellos themselves were constructed in a way that they could basically withstand gunshot or cannon shot from the French Navy, had it ever managed to take hold of the channel.
Here we are, together, facing a group of mighty foes who seek our ruin. Here we are, together, defending all that to free men is dear.
All along the coast there are temporary and permanent barracks, firing ranges, test ranges, most of which aren't manned now, but on occasions at Hythe you will still see the military down on the ranges. Lydd itself does do live firing, mainly out to sea, and the barracks and the pillboxes and all the basic building blocks of a military defence system are still there, although they're in states of disrepair and are just basically relics of the past, but signs of what could have been.
They were codenamed Mulberries, gigantic construction kits of steel and concrete. Many said they would never work. Wind and waves almost proved them right.
After all, the whole thing was a hell of a gamble. No one had ever taken a harbour across the ocean before.
Another relic from the Second World War is sitting quietly in the bay just off Greatstone, a large section of what would have been one of the pontoons for the Mulberry harbours used on D-Day to land goods, troops, materials and armament, broke loose and came to rest in the middle of the bay and has never been moved. It's now a natural reef and is accessible at low tide, but only for the bravest, because the area is very, very soft and there is effectively quicksand in the area.
Monolithic, upturned concrete soap dishes. Known as sound mirrors, these top-secret constructions built between the wars were designed as giant ears to listen out for approaching enemy aircraft. Most of them have been demolished, vandalised or have simply rotted away, but remarkably this one just outside Folkestone is still standing.
Around about this time, however, the invention of radar came along, which made everything obsolete, but the dishes themselves and the mirrors are still there and are clearly visible and stand as a relic and a reminder of a path that technology could have taken had it not been for radar, and the obvious repercussions from that, where television, radio and telecommunication that we are so used to today may never have taken place.
On this completely isolated island, it's almost like they've been forgotten about from the community. Like they're just lost in like this wilderness. It's very interesting. Like it feels like a different world there, like a world before the world wars, when like radar doesn't exist and all that technology we just take for granted now that we think is normal just didn't exist. It feels very strange thinking about like a world without that. And I think that if radar wasn't ever, radar didn't ever exist, we might have a world where we literally just had these sound mirrors almost everywhere.
I like it because I like wild places. And you couldn't get anything wilder than this, could you? Well, I don't approve of nuclear power. Who does? But it's there. It's there. The only time it's lovely is at night time because it's all lit up. And I do have people come down here to ask me about living here with a nuclear power station over there. As though I'm going to have gorgeous eyes or something, you know, like that. And one day I had somebody come down here. It was from a big newspaper. And this lady had walked along the beach in July. Now in July they have what they call the amoeba comes up. And it's all like silver. She went back to London and told the whole of the coast was radiated.
Dungeness A is now coming to the end of its usable life and is in the process of being decommissioned as we speak. However, it will live on. Someone did have the forethought to provide the base and foundation and the starting blocks for Dungeness C if they decide to build it when they built A and B. B has got a significant lifespan left to it, but the remains of A will become a relic in its due course, as will B in due time. Maybe we'll have moved on and we'll have a different power source and they will just be a reminder of the past. In every direction you can see relics of the past, from winches that were used to drag boats up from the beaches through to old fishing vessels of one type or another that have just been left there, not to rot but to age and show the history of the area in the past. Whether it was done deliberately or not, it does add to the atmosphere.
I remember being little, growing up in the countryside, and the ruins and the little bits of forgotten history that you used to find when you were just rambling about, and you wanted to explore them. And I think that we still kind of have that same interest in these abandoned places because there's something very exciting about them, kind of darkly exciting. And they're these little gems that you stumble upon because there are no maps to them. There's no particular way of finding these places because they're just literally forgotten. They're left in the middle of wherever. They're overgrown and they're hidden, and some of them are really ruined, and they don't seem very historical to people now because they're not very pretty, I suppose. Which is why they're not worth preserving, maybe, because it's a different kind of history. It's the stuff that's not put into the museums and the stuff that's not under glass in a gallery somewhere, that it's just kind of wild history. It's left there's like relics of the way things used to be, and I think it's quite nice that they're just left there. How long they will last is a different thing, I suppose, because you know they're wild. They're becoming part of the landscape gradually, like these natural sculptures, because they're being eroded away, especially on the coast, becoming nothing very slowly, just becoming a less and less of a blot on the landscape.